Hello, my name is Jack Ducard. Welcome to Sentinel Circle. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share, comment below. I appreciate having you here today. Thank you. So I got another story here. It's another heavy topic. I'm sorry, again, if this is heavy to watch, but it's important. It's important that we take the underbelly and show it to everyone's face. Because it does happen in our backyards. It happens everywhere we go. And if we don't talk about it, it only makes the issue worse. Because these people think that they can get away with it. So, before I switch it over, if, again, you can't handle child essay or stories along that line, please don't listen to this. Click away. I know it's a heavy topic, but I don't want to subject you to something that you can't handle. Okay? And again, be aware of your surroundings. Just because you can handle it doesn't mean that the people around you can handle it. So listen to it with your earbuds or in your privacy of your home or car. Okay, so let's get right into it. Utah fire chief and judge shared disturbing chats about SAing children, charges say. This happened in Utah. I want you to look at these men. Look at them. Know their names, know their faces. You see them out in the road. I'm not telling you what to do, but just know who you're looking at. You got the first district justice court judge, Kevin Robert Christensen. That's the man on the left. And Treadment Fire Chief Ned Brady Hansen, right there on the right. The reason why I saw this case is not only does it deal with children, which I'm extremely passionate about, this also has to do with judicial corruption, which again, I'm very passionate about. And I do believe, I can already see the comments right now. Why does this matter for a men's support group? Well, the reason why it affects men is because judicial abuse specifically can lead men who've never done anything wrong in their lives behind bars. It can put innocent men into a box, basically. Destroy, because even if the individual's found not guilty, which not guilty is not the same as innocent, unfortunately. There's a reason why they say not guilty. And maybe one day we'll go through the whole legal malaise of language, because everything that they say in a courtroom when it comes to law, it has a meaning that we do not share that meaning. To us, not guilty means innocence. Well, no. In a court of law, in a courtroom, and when it comes to law, not guilty does not mean innocent. All that means is they did not have enough proof to convict you. It's just minor details like that. And that's the one thing I learned when I was going through my court issues, is words have very specific meanings, and there's no vague definition there. And that's why laws are written the way they are, is because words have very strict meaning. So, let's continue. So, Tremont, a Utah judge was charged Monday with exploitation of children, and a Utah fire chief were charged Tuesday with similar crimes. Now, court documents say both men engaged in very disturbing conversations with each other about essaying children, and that the two were also involved in a relationship. Now, this is the key to this story here. The two men pictured above knew each other and were involved with each other in a, I don't want to say romantic way, but they were involved. They may not have loved each other, but they were involved with each other intimately. I'm trying not to use offensive language. I don't believe in using offensive language, especially in subjects like this. But I think we all can understand, and I'm going to leave the article in the description so that way everyone can look firsthand and know exactly what I mean by these terms. So, in addition, investigators say the judge was assigned to the fire chief's criminal case and released him on bail in January, despite a request that he be held without bail. This is why I brought this article to you. The judge who had an intimate relationship with this fire captain or chief or whatever the heck he is, fire chief. He was involved with the fire chief, got his case in a separate case regarding this stuff, and let him out on bail. That is judicial corruption. All the judge had to do was recuse himself. But he didn't, and he knew what he did was wrong, and he still did it. Tremont Fire Chief Ned Hansen. I'm gonna just read the first and last name. I'm not gonna do this whole middle name thing. Age 54 was charged Tuesday in the 1st District Court with 8 counts of aggravated exploitation of a minor, a first-degree felony. So 8 first-degree felonies. 8 felonies. And for those who may not know, a first-degree felony is, depending on the area, could be like, not serious to very serious. It just depends on the law. So in this case, I would imagine that exploitation of a minor is not on the level of murder. So first degree probably is like one step above a misdemeanor. But it's still serious jail time. Like, basically, misdemeanor, you can stay in a local jail, whereas a felony, you're more likely going upstate to an actual prison. At least that's how it was explained to me. Hansen's charges were filed a day after 1st District Justice Court Judge Kevin Roberts Christensen was charged with 7 felony crimes involving children and obstructing justice. Good. I love it when a judge specifically gets charged when they do something wrong. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's tasty. The charges against Hansen allege he distributed an explicit video of a 10-year-old girl on at least 6 occasions and shared an explicit photograph of 2 12-year-old girls on at least 2 other occasions. Christensen is accused of enticing minors via chat app multiple times. So that's what we're dealing with. Is it doesn't matter if he produced it. The fact is he had it. And just by having it creates a demand that allows it to be produced. If there was no demand, nobody would make it. So to me, he is just as bad as the individuals who produce this stuff. Hansen was booked into the Box Elder County Jail on January 27th after Brigham City Police executed a search warrant at his home. Several devices were seized by the police for processing. Okay, that's standard. When Hansen was initially arrested, investigators asked a judge, Christensen, to keep Hansen in custody without the possibility of posting bail. So, for those of you who don't know, who aren't in the criminal justice system at any capacity, first off, good for you. I hope that never happens to you. But if it does, the first time you ever see a judge is to determine your bail. And generally speaking, the amounts that they throw out there, you know, like $100,000, $200,000, whatever, they do that because you have to, when you're in jail, you're building time. Because jail time is always, how do I want to explain this? It's all about time behind bars, okay? When you're behind bars, you're paying a debt to society. And when they set a bail, that's the equivalent of doing that. Because in my case, there were technically two cases, and I was freed on one case, but the other case I was held on bail. And what happened there is because I was freed on the one case, I wasn't accruing time on that case. So if for whatever reason the case that I had bail on was dismissed, well, none of that time would be accredited to the other case, even though I may have spent, you know, up to a year behind bars. So when you have a bail against you, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, you know, it's just a way to build time up. And the main thing about bail is when you see those amounts, it's actually 10% that you have to pay. That's your bond, basically. Depending on the state. Now, like states like California, they expect you to pay the whole amount, but that's where the bail bondsman comes into play. The bail bondsman pays the full amount to get you out. You pay 10%, and then it's up to them to make sure that you actually show up to your court date. It's depending on the state, it can be a very different system, but it's usually 10% that you have to fork up. So 100,000, 10% is 10,000. So, you know, it's just there's a whole thing about it. We'll go into it later. Law enforcement requested the defendant Hansen be held without bail due to the risk he posed to children in the community, and were unaware of the relationship between Hansen and Christensen, according to an affidavit in support of an arrest warrant filed in the First District Court. Christensen did not disclose that he had engaged in graphic chats regarding children with defendant Hansen, and law enforcement believes that this fact materially affected the decision making of Christensen at the time he released Hansen. I will agree 100% with that. I will agree 100%. Honestly, the dude screwed up. You know, if he didn't want to be in trouble, he should have just kept Hansen behind bars. But I think what it boiled down to is he thought he could get away with it. That's why he did it. The investigation into Hansen, again, Hansen's the fire chief. Hansen's alleged crimes began in November 2024 when the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received information that a certain internet-based application had engaged in the distribution of child SA material. Law enforcement was then able to connect the account to Hansen, charging documents state. After detectives discovered explicit videos of a preteen girl, Hansen admitted to having possessed the videos identified and being the account subscriber, an arrest report alleged. While looking through evidence, police later discovered that Hansen had an extensive number of chats with Christensen that were graphic and involved discussing of SAing children. In those chats, in those chats with Christensen, Hansen expressed interest in SAing children he knew and offered to share them and allow Christensen to SA them. The affidavit alleges, adding that Christensen discussed showing Hansen pictures of children he knew and offered to share. So, based on this, fortunately, the two men did not hurt other children directly. Now, it's possible that there was more to this story, but it sounds like that these two guys just had a hobby together, which I don't like saying that this is a hobby, but that's really where this kind of leads to, is it's a hobby. But that's the issue, is you first talk about it, and then there's a point where it crosses from... There's a point where a crime is going to be committed. Let me put it that way. You know, and this is why you don't like chomos in jail, because once you start, you can't stop. You know, they're not going to be able to stop. And these gentlemen, unfortunately, did not cross fully into it, but there was illegal photo sharing and video sharing. But beyond that, you know, and this is why they're probably low-level criminal offenses. Well, I shouldn't say felonies, low-level, but low-level felonies. There we go. Hansen also discussed having met with the internet user, Judge Christensen, in real life to engage in physical acts with the other user, according to the arrest warrant affidavit. Christensen was charged Monday with 2 counts of enticing a minor using the internet, 1 second-degree felony and 1 third-degree felony, plus 2 counts of dealing in materials harmful to a minor, 3 counts of attempted aggravated exploitation of a minor, and obstruction of justice third-degree felonies. Okay, so my understanding of how felonies are done in Utah was incorrect. So the abuse of children is actually on the level of murder, which is good. And I don't like the fact that they put these levels on it. It's more because they're sentencing guidelines. The punishment should fit the crime, and every crime's different. But that's just, they take the decision making out of the judge's hands. So I get it, and I'm not going to go into that right now. The judge, who was placed on unpaid leave, good, that's a start, is accused of using a chatting application to communicate with others about SAing children, exploiting children, and enticing children, according to the charging documents. So more individuals are involved. It's just these two people happen to know each other in real life. Christensen, oh my goodness, this is awful. Okay, here we go. Christensen discussed many personal details about himself and sent multiple photos of him and his family members to other people in those chats. So he involved his family in this without their knowledge or consent. This guy is sick. God, Lord, this is disgusting. Court documents describe, I missed a sentence here. He sent multiple photos of himself and his family members to other people in those chats, including explicit photos of himself, the charges state. Court documents describe, graphic, explicit conversations with teen girls. You're going to notice a cut. I apologize. Investigators say Hansen also discussed SA of children in several internet chats they discovered. Hansen says he enjoys child essay material but tries to stay out of trouble. Oh boy, that one. That one made me so angry. That one really made me angry. In another chat, the defendant, Hansen, states that he totally would diddle a child if he could get away with it. Oh, yeah, that's... See, and that's why they call it the thin blue line, even though I hate that term, because that really is that small little line that prevents sick people like this from doing what they do. You know, but without that line, then we would have, like, real justice, and he wouldn't like that. In an interview with police, Hansen said he had a graphic content addiction, and that over the previous several years he had developed taste for younger females, according to the charging documents. Okay, and then I'm not gonna continue on. So that was heavy. That was disgusting, and I got to take a shower after that. What did we learn? I think that the one there's a lot that sticks out to me, but the main thing is adult content addiction again plays a key here, and I don't think he's using that as like an excuse for what he did. During interrogations, a lot of people say things, and I tend to be of the belief, it may be naive, but I tend to be of the belief that anybody who's not a career criminal tends to be the most honest in a police interrogation, because your faculties completely shut down. That's why they sit there and say you have the right to remain silent, and that's the smart thing to do, is stay silent in an interrogation room, because you can't control what you say at that point. You're going to say something incriminating, and no matter what you say after that, it's already out. So I do believe that the fire chief had an adult entertainment addiction, and that's usually how this kind of stuff starts. You eventually get super desensitized to what you're looking at, and you start looking for more and more extreme things, you know, be it things like bondage or abuse. I know that, like, grape, and I said grape, not the R word, but grape fantasies exist. It's a serious addiction that can really put you in a bad spot if you allow it to get out of control. And it's super easy to get out of control. You know, you start with, you know, they call it... how do I want to say it? But the women who appear underage, but, you know, they're legal, you know, it starts there, and then you continue to go further and further, and then eventually you cross the line, you realize you don't get in trouble, and you continue to look, and it just spirals out of control. And that's what happened here, at least with the fire chief, is it spiraled out of control, you know. And then you join these groups, and then you start meeting each other, and then eventually a child is taken advantage of. But there's another element to this, and that's the judge. The judge knew the fire chief. He participated in this stuff. And he allowed... Was the fire chief going to go out there and assault a child? I don't think so. But that being stated, if he did, then it's an entirely different scenario at that point. And he was facing some serious jail time. You know, it could have been one of those things where he says, you know what, I'm going away, I might as well take it to the next level. It happens, and that's another reason why keeping certain people behind bars is important. Whether or not they actually are responsible, I get it. And in this case, I agree that he should have been held without bail until his court date. That being stated, the judge knew him. The judge put a bail on him because obviously it would look really bad if he just said, oh, you're free to go. You can't do that. The judges even have to follow the law. And in this case, you know, he couldn't really do that. At least as far as I know. But what the judge did here was not only wrong, but this is kind of the issue that I talk about a lot, which is corruption. It's very corrupt what he did. Very corrupt. And I know what it boiled down to is he was trying to get his buddy out of the system. Which I think any reasonable individual would have done that. Or what I mean is they would have gotten their friend out of trouble. But he has power over a man's freedom. And with power, there is responsibility, and his responsibility is at most to protect the community. And this guy, whether or not he may have actually done it, he was a threat to the community as someone who was engaging in possible child SA. And the judge was participating too, which that opens up a whole long list of problems there. My question to everyone who's watching is when do we have enough? At what point? Does it have to happen with a relative? Does it have to happen to you? When is enough enough? And even then, if you've had enough, what can you do? You know, I mean, I ran for office. I lost, but I ran for office. And I learned real fast that even if I had won, there isn't much you can do. So the question really is, what do we do? As a group, as a people, as whatever. And I'm going to get blackpilled for a second, but I don't think you can do much. I think that there are things you can do, but the problem is a lot of people don't want to go down that road. And we may discuss that at a future date time when I am able to monetize and have like a members only area. That would be something that would be members only, is explaining how we could do that. Anyways, I'm coming up at 30 minutes, so I would like to thank all of you for being here. I know that was a very horrifying subject. I don't like that. I really don't. People like these two individuals, they were in positions of trust amongst the community, and this is what they did with that trust. At the end of the day, they're only human, and we have to remember that a police officer, a judge, a fire captain, all these administrators, they're only human. Which makes them fallible. Which makes them corruptible. You know, even I am only human, and I can be corruptible, fallible, all that other stuff. So it's just something to think about. Anyways, my name is Jack Descartes. This is Sentinel Circle. Please, again, if you like this, like, subscribe, have a conversation down below. I love conversations. If you have a story that you want to provide me, like a news article or your own personal anecdotes or whatever, you can put them in the comments. I do read those. You can also send an email. I have an email account on the description of every video, and I will read those. If you want to remain anonymous, you can remain anonymous. I promise you that. Anyways, have a good day.